Hey everyone, I am Daniel Cohn, the editorial director here at Spin, and I'm here with Brad and Jack from Dispatch on a beautiful sunny afternoon. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good.
I mean, you're crushing it with your t-shirts right now.
Thanks for lumping me in. It's really 100%.
I mean, the St. Augustine Theater is no slouch.
That's true. That's true. It's a killer place to play.
It's a great place.
The Bad Brains, though,
Yeah,
it's a classic.
it is.
A very much a classic. So throughout you guys' career, charity has been a very big part, and philanthropy has been a big part of what you guys do. So why did that become a project as part of this band? And just if you want to tell us your history.
I think it was probably the first thing that we really agreed on outside of getting started, agreeing on music. But after we'd played together for 5 or 6 years and started to feel some tensions and riffs in what we were doing and how we were doing it, it was nice to have something that we kind of all agreed on, like, let's use our music for this.
We also we broke up for a little while, and I think, and we had some political songs in the mix, but when we came back together, it wasn't just for the music. We were like, if we're gonna keep this going, let's make it be about bigger shit.
Let's anchor it.
Yeah.
So what was the first effort you agreed on?
First was Dispatch Zimbabwe. It was an event at Madison Square in 2007 because Chad had been to Zimbabwe years before.
Yeah.
10
And then
years
you
before?
went over to meet everyone.
I went in 06 to meet the folks that Chad met years before and wrote a song called Alias. So our fans were singing this song that had, the opening is in Shona, one of the Zimbabwean national languages. And Zimbabwe was the poorest country in the world at that time, going through all kinds of political upheaval. So we had this crazy opportunity to like play these shows and then bring this amazing alias. This man kind of spoke to peace and the importance of peace in his country. And at that point, it's like, gosh, if we can merge those two worlds anytime, it still gives me the chills. Like, that's about as cool a way to play as you can.
So how did you end up in Zimbabwe? Like, what's the backstory behind that?
I had finished high school and wasn't exactly sure my next destination, and I knew it was the furthest place where I knew someone would take me in. And so I wanted to get as far away as I could from...
And Chad had dreads. He needed a place to kind of like try out his dreads and see how they worked.
Actually, I didn't really have them yet, but...
They were little poop dreads.
I hadn't washed in many months. But, so I went there with my friend Oakley, who had been there as a kid when he was about 10 years old for a year. So he knew a family we could stay with. And we ended up teaching English and coaching a little soccer and just traveling around. And I had my guitar. There's a lot of downtime, actually, so that's where the song Alias I wrote. And like Brad said, the beginning was in Shona, which my kids taught me this little, almost like a nursery rhyme song, and we play it to this day, and it's like people sing it back to us, and they don't know what they're saying, but it's
nor do we.
It's
great.
But it's cool. And for the Dispatch Zimbabwe, we had the African Children's Choir come in, mostly based in Uganda, but also some Zimbabwe kids who all came, and so we had this crew of kids singing along with us. It was awesome.
It's amazing to see your work pay off like that.
Yeah, it's wild just when it comes together.
Yeah, and maybe that was the first time too where we're looking at these kids that are singing and opening up for us, thinking like, what world are they going to inherit from us? Just starting to move out of kind of the self-centered band thing to like, wow, this is a lot bigger than us just kind of jumping up and making music. So yeah, I think we learned a lot through that Dispatch Zimbabwe show.
And then since then, we have like a cause per tour.
Amazing.
So we'll do anything from education to hunger to mass incarceration to mental health, and just try to bring it along the road with us and have like kind of sanctuaries at tables and places like set up in the venues, so that it's like and literature tables, just so it's like more of a, I don't know, rounder experience.
And you're teaching your audience about these things too, which is just great, that you're using your music to not only help them, but educate them about things they may not have been familiar with.
Yeah, it's a great gateway to get
Right,
people.
that's the word, gateway.
Get people into it, because sometimes it can be an intimidating first step to kind of get into these different worlds sometimes. So if you do it through a band you like, it works.
Yeah, and we get to be the ones that ask the questions because we're not expert on any of it. But I mean, like, we can say this doesn't seem right, ask a question, and then these incredible organizations can come and educate fans who are interested and us. So it's a good mix.
What's the focus of this tour?
Last year was mass incarceration, and that's something that sort of feels like it's the melting pot for almost everything that we've looked at for the last 15 or 20 years. I mean, whether it's poverty or, you know,
The justice system.
yeah, the inequity of your zip code, the education
Racism.
that's available for kids, all of it kind of feeds into the problem of mass incarceration here in our country. So that's the one that I think we're just kind of scratching the surface on and going, whoa, this is heavy.
So
Yeah.
criminal justice reform is a big part of this. And what do you think that can be done that can show the audience what is actually going on and that things need to change? And by audience, I mean your fans.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it through songs, you know, that lyrically you can do it, and then, you know, just having different kind of educational literature at shows just so they can get into it, or stuff like this where we're talking about it.
I think highlighting maybe one or two really key statistics that sound like there's no way that could possibly be true, and then someone goes and just does a quick look and then goes, wait a minute, what? We're simultaneously calling ourselves the land of the free, and we're, what, 6 to 10 times more incarcerated than the second most incarcerated in the country?
Yeah, we have 5% of the world's population, 25% of the world's locked up population.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
and I think 3x what, you know, women who are incarcerated 3 times more than in other countries. So
This
anyway,
country's-
it's a fascinating.
it's so
There's
bad.
a lot of different individual tracks to go down to look at nonviolent crime, and then race connected to crime, and prison sentences, and
So how did you get introduced to this organization? Because criminal justice, as you said, was kind of taps into all those, criminal justice reform rather, taps into all those topics. So why is now the time to kind of push forward with that?
Chad's NGO, he and his wife founded an NGO called Calling All Crows. And what, maybe in 2020, you guys had
Or
convened a
2019.
forum?
Yeah, through our, it's actually a connection with Senator Warnock from Georgia, who was Reverend at the time. We became friends with him, and he was spearheading this organization called Ending Mass Incarceration. And through our relationship with him, we just felt so inspired by the work he was doing, and we partnered with him to create this program where Dispatch, and I told Brad about it, and then Brad flew into New York, and we had this like
Oh, I was blown away.
this symposium with
Yeah.
all these like, you know, people who had done time and what they were doing now, and different leaders and the political leaders and faith leaders, and kind of you know, this kind of symposium. How can we change the narrative here? It's not even about reforming the prison system. It has to be dismantled.
Yeah, and kind of just starting over. It's such a rote pattern and program for us that have grown up here in our country. You get in trouble, you go here, you go here. Like, really need to start over and imagine, like, what does a healing track look like
Yeah.
for people? What does a rehabilitating track look like for people? What kind of sentences match the crime? And then taking a look at it was such an intriguing kind of day of just all this stuff, and then thinking, how come my eyes haven't been open to this anymore? Because we're so used to it, and it's kind of been politicized into these two
tough on
parties,
crime
and tough on
ever since
crime,
the
war on
70s.
drugs, like everyone tends to have some way of building fear and saying there's this, we got to attack this, we need
Super
to incarcerate
predators.
here, and
That's all bullshit.
Are you still in contact with Senator Warnock?
Yeah.
So you literally use your platform to influence policy now.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what's so beautiful
That's the dream.
that he won. I mean, it's a dream come true for someone like that to
It was in
hold
my
office.
small group.
Yeah.
It was him, the sweet rabbi from New Jersey.
Yep.
I can't remember what that woman's name was,
Maybe
but
Lindsay.
yeah, it was the three of us, and I'm just like, what? Such amazing perspectives, and just sharing. How has this impacted you? How does this impact you? And yeah, really incredible.
Sweet. Well, thanks for dropping by. Is there anything else you want to say to the camera over here?
Well, briefly, so Brad and I do a bunch of stuff on our own. Calling All Crows is kind of my world, and we're also focusing on sexual violence in the music industry and training venues and staff and folks in positions of power to kind of rewire the music industry so that it's less misogynistic, and that's been something we've been focusing a lot on because it's rampant, as you can imagine. And Brad does a lot of work in Nicaragua, working with this, help building a school. And
I went 2005 and found a group of kids living in a trash dump, and then kind of followed them and found a township of people living in the heart of a landfill there.
Wow.
So I founded an NGO called Love, Light, and Melody, and we're amplifying the stories of these vulnerable kids to create hope through education. So
Incredible work.
good stuff.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.